Everyone, Mark Meckler here, president of Convention Estates. You might notice there is somebody new with me. This is the new, soon-to-be famous puppy. This is Doc, and Doc is a Great Dane. You might know that I love Great Danes. We just got him literally a couple of days ago. He was born in Indiana. Patty and I flew up there, drove back down. He's 12 weeks old. I know he looks pretty big for a puppy. He's 37 pounds already. So this is what you get when you get a baby Great Dane. He's pretty calm right now. He's ready for a nap. But I just thought you guys would all want to see him. I'm sure you'll see lots more of him. You know, we've got the black and white couch in the background, so he'll probably be there blending in. That's the new guy. His name is Doc, by the way, because he's named after our good friend, the late, great Senator Dr. Tom Coburn. Didn't like to be called Senator, loved to be called Doc because that's the thing that he was most proud of. So in honor of Doc Coburn, I introduce you to Doc Coburn, the new puppy. All right, we're going to put him aside. We're going to get to the news of the day. Here we go, Doc. Don't destroy anything, buddy. All right, so we got a big news week here. It is the beginning of 2025, which is super exciting to me because there's so much stuff going on out there. And the BattleCry today, really, the call to action for you is to hit the ground running. You got to do it right now. You got to be ready to go. And there's a natural tendency in an off year, a non-election year, to think, oh, well, the elections are over. Maybe Trump's in office. I was a Trump supporter, got a Republican Congress, a conservative Supreme Court. I mean, hallelujah, all that stuff sounds great, but that doesn't mean we don't have things that we have to do. And in fact, when you have momentum in politics, bam, that's the time to go, go, go and hit it hard. And so what do you do? What do you do in a non-election year? It's easy in an election year, right? Because, you know, you go work for candidates, you donate money, you do all that stuff. So I have a suggestion for you. In a non-election year, go get involved in the organizations of your choice that are doing great work. If you're passionate about the pro-life issue, go volunteer for a pro-life organization. If you're passionate about gun rights, go get involved in a gun rights organization. Go work for those organizations. Go lobby in the legislature. If you're like me and you're passionate about Convention Estates, then go get involved in Convention Estates. I think that's the best thing you can do. Convention of States will give you an opportunity not just to pursue the Convention of States resolution, but to get involved in all those other things I just discussed and many more. All of our state teams have at least 3 initiatives that they're working on that are outside of Convention of States. And so it might be pro-life, it might be gun rights, it might be property rights, it might be election integrity, all kinds of stuff that they're involved in. So if you're interested in actually being involved in politics, and I would say you actually have an obligation to do that if you're a good citizen, you don't just vote, you actually get involved in politics, then get involved in Convention of States. And the way that you do that is you go to conventionofstates.com. First thing, if you haven't done it, and if you haven't done it, kind of shame on you, get it done. Go out and sign the petition. Winston, I know you're excited. See, he's excited about getting involved. So if you're excited, go sign the petition. That'll make sure that goes to your state legislators and lets them know you're in support. And yeah, that matters even in a state, if you're in a state that's already passed, because there are new legislators coming in. They don't know anything about Convention of States. In some states, there might be a rescission effort. The crazy, ridiculous people might try to rescind it. People on the left might try to rescind it. So you just go get involved. Sign that petition. That's number one. That's not involvement. What that means is now you've expressed your support. But if you want to hit the ground running and really be involved, click on the Take Action tab, and that'll give you a place where you can volunteer. When you do that, you're definitely going to be contacted by someone on the team. And by the way, to volunteer 10 minutes a week, an hour a week, we got people who do a lot more, but you don't have to. Get started, get trained, meet the team, become part of the Convention of States family. You can do stuff online. You can do stuff offline. You can do live meetings. You can do digital. You could be one of our social media warriors, all kinds of stuff that you can do. You can go to the legislature and lobby. We will teach you all of it. If you know nothing, that's okay. That's where most of us started. So just go to conventionofstates.com, go ahead and fill out that petition, click on the Take Action tab and get involved. You go to the Resources tab, you're also going to see all the training you could possibly need, watch some videos, learn everything you want to learn. But the bottom line is, it's a new year. I know you're feeling good and victorious right now. Don't sit back and relax. Get to work. This is 2025. It's going to be an incredible year. I have as much hope as I've had in a very long time about all the positive stuff that's going to happen in 2025. So I hope you'll join us and get involved. I'm looking forward to having you there and involved with us. I said you should hit the ground running, right? I should hit the ground running. Trump is hitting the ground running, and this is something I'm super excited about as well. I feel like in his first administration, Trump wasn't so sure he was going to win the presidency. Maybe he didn't even think he was going to, and he wasn't very prepared going in. This cycle, he's completely prepared. And you have some of his closest advisors now coming out saying he's going to have over 100 executive orders that he intends to sign immediately. I'm guessing by immediately, he means on the first day. Excuse me here. That's exciting. And I think they're going to be things, what we've heard is they're going to be things on the border. A lot of them are going to address the border crisis. He's going to close that border immediately. He's going to shut off the flow of fentanyl immediately. He's going to start rebuilding the border wall immediately. All that stuff's going to happen. And so I'm excited about that. I think he's going to get involved in all kinds of areas around energy. I think all the stuff that Biden tried to do to shut down the energy industry as he's leaving office right now, I think Trump's going to reverse all that stuff. And I think that he is going to do a great job of just unleashing our energy industry, making us energy independent again, making us the leader in the world in energy production as we should be, making it so that we are not dependent on hostile foreign actors for energy, making us the dominant force so that we can exert our economic influence all over the country. I'm excited about all of this stuff, but none of it's permanent. And I hate that part of it. And what I mean by that is we saw over the last 4 years that Joe Biden reversed so much of the great stuff that Donald Trump did. We don't want that to happen again. And that's one of the reasons that I said you need to get involved in convention of states. Because if you get involved in convention of states, we can make a lot of that stuff permanent. And let me give you some very specific examples. Trump's going to seal up that border pretty tight. I believe that he's going to do that. I believe he's going to be very aggressive about doing it. What happens the next time you get a Democrat president in office? You get let's say it's Gavin Newsom. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in 2028 or 2032? Let's say you get another Kamala Harris kind of candidate who is going to intend to open that border. What do we do about that? Well, in a convention of states, you could specifically grant the states concurrent authority to seal those borders, to enforce immigration law. That could be done constitutionally, and it should be done to prevent that kind of assault on a state's sovereignty that we saw during the Biden administration. So that's just one thing that you could do with the convention of states. How about this? President Trump has talked about doing away the Department of Education. Will he do it? I don't know. Reagan said he was going to do it, didn't end up doing it. I'm hoping that Trump does. He put Linda McMahon in as his education secretary. I think she's a highly competent businesswoman. Maybe she does it. I'm rooting for her to do it. Let's say they do that. Well, the next time a Democrat administration comes in, they can fire that thing up in 5 minutes. Let's make it impossible for them. Let's pass an amendment that says that the federal government may not be involved in education in any way, shape, or form by regulation or by spending money. These are things that we can do with a convention of states. So Trump's going to do some great stuff. I have no doubt about that. I think we're going to see some really good stuff. But if we want to make it permanent, we have to do that by a convention of states. Here's another one. Trump has talked about term limits. I don't believe term limits are coming out of Congress. Do you believe we can get 2/3 of both houses of Congress to propose term limits on themselves? We haven't seen anything even close to that. We've not even seen that bill come out of committee. So it's going to be really interesting to see. They say they're pushing for it. We can get that done by a convention of states. How do I know that? Because 85% of the American public supports it. And a convention of states goes to the state legislatures, not to Congress limiting their own terms. So I think we can get it done. And we can also do bureaucrats and staffers. I call it the Fauci Amendment. We never want another Dr. Fauci. We don't want somebody who serves 40 years in the federal government and amasses incredible amounts of power, more power even than the president had, it seemed like, during the pandemic. So we want the amendment to limit the terms of Congress, but also staffers, bureaucrats, and the judiciary. There's so much more that we can do with the Convention of States. How about limiting the Supreme Court to 9? I'm tired of all the talk of having the court get packed by the left. The left is really into this. And let's protect the Supreme Court. Let's limit it to 9 people. The vast majority of Americans support that. So these are things that we can do to shore up anything that we like that this administration does. Look, I don't think they're going to balance the budget. I think even with Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy there, I think there's only so much they can do. I hate to say this, forgive me for saying it, but I don't think Trump is that committed to cutting spending. We certainly didn't see it in his first term. And I think we're going to have to impose that kind of fiscal restraint from the outside. I think that's something you and I can do through a convention of states. Winston's here because maybe he'll help us do that, or his little brother, Doc, right? So I think there's a lot we can do. This is part of hitting the ground running. Trump's going to hit the ground running, and it's up to us to hit the ground running too. Now, they're trying to stop Trump. Obviously, they're continuing to try to stop Trump. When I say they, I mean the deep state. I mean all the crazy lawfare stuff. And I saw this week that Trump was sentenced. And what did they sentence him to? Drum roll, please. Ready? Nothing. They didn't sentence him to anything. All that, millions of dollars dragging him through the mud, through the legal process over the last couple of years. The only intent was to try to keep him from running for president and to try to keep him from becoming president. They were unsuccessful, and they sentenced him to nothing. So why? Like, what do they get out of this? And I think the best thing that they get out of this, at least from their perspective, is now they can say that he is a quote unquote convicted felon. Ooh, wow. A convicted felon. You voted for him. I voted for him. Obviously, the majority of Americans voted for him, and certainly he got elected as certified by the Electoral College. And so I don't think anybody cares whether he's a convicted felon or not. I don't think he cares. Now, he's going to appeal this thing all the way up. I guess the main reason he would care is because he's going to lose his voting rights for doing this, his state voting rights, I guess, or federal voting rights. I don't know which or exactly how that works. He's going to appeal it all the way up. I think the appeal is going to be unsuccessful in the New York state courts. I think it goes then. I think New York is the first district, and I think he's going to lose there, likely, very liberal district. And then it goes up to the Supreme Court. And the question is, will the Supreme Court hear it? And the question there really is going to be whether the Supreme Court feels like this is an important national issue of first import. In other words, the court hasn't dealt with it. And I think I'm going to give it a 50-50. The court might want to deal with this to say, we don't want this kind of lawfare. And this is an outrageous abuse of legal power, which I think it was. I think it's pretty obvious that it was. And so it is possible the Supreme Court deals with it on that basis. If they do, I think it'll be a 5-4 decision. I think his conviction will be overturned, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. It matters in the big scheme of things, I think, about whether people continue to do this kind of lawfare, but it doesn't matter in the sense that I don't think anybody cares that Trump is a convicted felon, except for maybe Trump. So it appears that Elon Musk is playing Tony Stark, Iron Man, to the entire world right now, addressing evil everywhere he sees it. He's obviously become a confidant of President Trump and played a big role in helping President Trump get elected. But go beyond that, like he's now commenting on German politics. And in German politics, he is for the party there. I think it's called the AfD, that is anti this crazy wave of Muslim immigration that they've seen in Germany. And he's supporting AfD. And I think that's a very good thing. There are a lot of folks in Germany that are just horrified by that. Oh, a foreign billionaire involved in German politics. You know who else? Like Bill Gates, like George Soros doing this stuff all over the world. They don't like it because Elon Musk isn't a leftist. They would like it if he was a leftist. So I think it's good that he's involved in German politics. He's also now involved in British politics. And he's calling out members of the British Parliament and local British government for hiding what appears to be this rape grooming scandal, mostly involving Pakistani Muslim men who were grooming and raping young British girls. Yeah, you heard me right. And it's being covered up by the British government. The British government doesn't want to talk about it. And Elon Musk is exposing it. And you got to congratulate the guy for that. And he is addressing evil every single place he sees it in the world. The left hates it. That in and of itself makes it good. And according to the polling group 538, it says that Trump is now moving towards his first net positive approval rating in the United States ever. Trump's not even president yet, and he's shaking the entire world. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. I was recently at a conference in Argentina about 3 weeks ago. I was there for a week and got a chance to see firsthand what Milei is doing. I attended CPAC down there, but I was there for a strategic conference on cryptocurrency, on the ADA cryptocurrency and the Cardano blockchain. And one of the things that I noted is I was with people from all over the world, literally everywhere you can imagine. I was with folks from 62 different countries, and almost everybody I talked to loves Donald Trumd. Who'd have thought it, right? You always hear that Trump is so unpopular all over the world. In Europe, I met people from England who love Trump, people from Northern Ireland who love Trump, people from Germany who love Trump, people from France who love Trump. Lots of them came up to me and told me, it's like, I guess because I was there from America and they wanted to get it off their chest that they used to hate Trump and now they love Trump. So Trump's shaking up the entire world and he's doing it in so many different ways. Did you see the press conference this week? One of the best press conferences I've ever seen, honestly. I think Trump is at his best right now. I think he's solid on policy. I think he's completely unchained and saying the things that he believes. And this week he talked about Greenland, right? That he wants to acquire Greenland. Amen. It's actually a good thing. I heard the entire population of Greenland is like 64,000 people. It sounds like a lot of people in Greenland are in favor of this. Greenland is a strategic asset for the United States, important military base there. Russia wouldn't like it. That's a good reason to do it. All kinds of good reasons. Lots of natural resources there. We provide their military protection right now. Right now, they're part of Denmark. Does that make any sense to anybody? Denmark provides them with almost nothing because Denmark is in Europe and Denmark is not a big country and Denmark doesn't have a big military. And so we provide the military. And so I actually like the idea. Now, is Trump bloating it legitimately or because he's just trying to poke at people? Who knows? I think it's a legitimate idea and I think it's one that should be legitimately considered. And I love that he is openly talking about it and even sent Don Jr. up there and a whole team of other people just to poke around and cause some controversy. I absolutely loved it. And I like the idea of U.S. acquiring Greenland. Will it actually happen? I think it's a long shot, but I love the idea. Then, of course, he was talking about renaming the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America. And another idea that I absolutely love. Look, the thing about the Gulf of Mexico, and Trump talked about this openly, 60% of the shoreline in the Gulf of Mexico is American territory. So why is it called the Gulf of Mexico? Should be called the Gulf of America. And he is going to, by executive edict, demand that the entire United States, federal government at least, call it the Gulf of America. And I love that idea. I mean, this is somebody representing a country that he loves. This is somebody representing a country that he is proud of. He is bringing pride and patriotism in America back to America. And this is part of it. I understand it's controversial. I understand it freaks people out. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think he's doing the right thing when he does it. Now, I think he's calling out the right foreign leaders when he talks about Justin Trudeau. Now, Trudeau is going to be gone. I think that's part of the Trump effect. We're going to get Pierre Poilievre, I think is how you pronounce his name. And if you listen to him talk, he talks about common sense. He talks about getting rid of regulations. He talks about lowering taxes. He talks about freeing up industry. He's talking like Donald Trump. Seems like a smart guy. This is happening all over the world now. I think you're going to see it happen in Germany. You're going to see it happen in England. Keir Starmer, who is the Prime Minister of England, in big trouble. I think he's going to be out. So I think what you're going to start to see is people all over the world rise up in the shadow of Donald Trump, ride his coattails, essentially, even though they're not in the United States. I can't even imagine what Davos is going to be next time, like the World Economic Forum. You got a bunch of people. Last time, we had some people from the U.S. go in and speak out against the Davos crowd. I think Ted Cruz was there speaking out against the Davos crowd and some others. Certainly, you're going to see Donald Trump there speaking out against it. But now you also have Milei, who spoke out against it last time. I think you're going to get the new Canadian Prime Minister speaking out against it. I think you've got, what's her name, Giorgia Molina in Italy. I think she's going to speak out against it. So I think what we're seeing is, boom, the world flip over. Trump is shaking the world. It's not just Trump, though. It's you. It's because you've been involved in politics. It's because you did the hard work. It's because you worked for candidates. It's because you've been, maybe if you're like me, involved in politics for 15 years, pushing towards this moment. The world is being shaken up and it's moving in a positive way. And I love that. But we shouldn't ever just rest on our laurels. We have to know that bad things can and will come. And the Texas legislature, I love that they're doing it, still does not trust the federal government with border security. I live in Texas now. We suffer the worst from what goes on coming across that border, us in Arizona, California as well, but I think Texas the worst. We have the biggest border with Mexico. And there are multiple bills that have now been filed in the Texas legislature saying we're not going to take it anymore. Number one, they're doing everything they can to cooperate with Trump and everything he's going to do to secure the border. And the legislature is to be commended for this, as is Governor Abbott. I love it. I'm not always in agreement with the governor. I'm not always in agreement with any politician. But on this issue, it sounds like he's going to do the right thing. And our legislature is as well. They're putting up a Homeland Security Agency is what they're trying to do, a border security agency, because even if Trump does all the right things, at some point, there's going to be another administration. And God forbid it's a Gavin Newsom administration or something like that, a leftist administration. They're going to try and reopen that border. And when they do, Texas needs to be prepared. So I'm excited. Texas legislature doing what we're talking about, hitting the ground running, not waiting for good things to happen, but making good things happen. Somebody who's not making anything good happen, and a place where nothing good is happening right now, is Los Angeles. And I am formerly from Los Angeles, born and raised in the Los Angeles basin. All these places that you see burning to the ground, I know them all well, intimately. I've been all over that city. I've lived in a bunch of different places, and it's really bad. And the images are tragic. And I don't know how many thousands of homes have been lost, but I've heard estimates between 3,000 and 10,000. I don't know what the right number is. Last time I heard 5 deaths. So I think that's an amazingly low number of deaths for the amount of houses and property destruction done. But our hearts and our prayers obviously go out to those who've lost lives and property. I can't even imagine how devastating that is to lose your house in a wildfire. We used to live in Northern California where we had these fires all the time, and it was scary. And now LA, you have huge swaths of some of the biggest, most beautiful, crazy custom homes in LA being destroyed by these fires. And I feel bad for those people on the one hand. And on the other hand, they voted for Karen Bass and they voted for Gavin Newsom and they continue to vote for crazy stuff. And I would place a wager right now that if there were a new election today, they would vote for Karen Bass again. They wouldn't vote for a Republican. They would vote for somebody on the left that would do what Karen Bass did, which is she cut $17 million from the firefighters department and was just complaining in a memo last week that it had to be much more. She was pushing for $49 million in cuts to the fire department. So many cuts that the fire department didn't even test their hydrants in Los Angeles this year, something they normally do annually. And I'm ranting and raving about this, but I'm frustrated primarily because Angelenos are going to keep voting for this stuff. And I don't know what it takes until they stop. Maybe this will be enough to make them stop, but I don't think so. I wouldn't put money on them not voting for this stuff. There's a bunch of stuff I still want to talk to you about because I want to answer Q&A. Before I do that, I want to remind you, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this with a friend if you like it. We're looking at new ways to get content out there, maybe more content, but it requires you. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with a friend. And hopefully you're watching on Rumble. Help our Rumble subscriptions go up. But wherever you're watching, hit the like button, subscribe, share it with a friend. Don't forget that we're reaching out to President Trump and trying to get him to endorse, to say he likes, that he wants Convention of States. We have all these people in administration now that love Convention of States. All these people that have been previous COS supporters and endorsers are going into the administration. Now we need to get President Trump himself. So you do that by going to conventionofstates.com/Trump. Make sure you sign that open letter to President Trump. Make sure you mention also support for Pete Hegseth's confirmation. Everywhere you go on social media, Pete Hegseth, long-term friend of Convention of States. I think we're going to see his confirmation hearing is going to be the first one, I think. I heard it's coming up this Tuesday. I'm not sure that's still in the books, but I think it's coming up. So go out there in social media, tag Pete Hegseth, and support his confirmation. Remember, you can ask me any questions you want by going to conventionofstates.com/ask Mark. I try to answer as many questions as I can. Sometimes we'll combine questions, but I try to get to all of them. So let's get to our Q&A. Let's start with Annie Polito. When do Trump's cabinet choices go through their confirmation hearings? Is it before the new Congress and Senate are sworn in? No, Annie, that'll happen after Congress and Senate are sworn in. And so that means it will start now because Congress is in. So those fights are going to start right away. You should stay tuned in and you should put pressure on the senators to confirm the people that Trump wants confirmed. Lisa Ellen Dernberger asked, with the obvious flip-flop of government leadership over the last 10 years that we're all witnessing, it's apparent to me that a convention is more important than ever. Is it apparent to the rest of the country? I think it's apparent to the rest of the country. How do I know that? Because of all the activity we have going on in all the states. And I was on a call late last week dealing with all the states we have serious movement in. And we have serious movement in a lot of states: Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Iowa, North Carolina, Kansas. We're going to see a lot of stuff happen in the coming months. Some of it's going to happen really fast. I think South Dakota may be the first to move. And this is why you need to get involved. And this is how I know that the country is getting ready, because I'm seeing it all over the country. So, Lisa, I think the country knows. If you're not already involved, Lisa, make sure you get involved. It's going to happen. Jay Spelling asks, how can Article 5 help with this crazy U.S. debt of $36 trillion? We can impose a balanced budget amendment that puts in spending caps and tax caps and requires that the federal government balance the budget by cutting. And I think we're going to get that done. 85% of Americans are in support of that. So if you're watching this and you're not involved, Jay, you need to be involved. Remember, I said hit the ground running. Go to conventionofstates.com, sign the petition, click on the Take Action tab, and get involved today. And I think that's it. I think those are all our questions. I was still going. I was ready to go more. So if you haven't done this before, go to conventionofstates.com/askmark, sign that petition, click on the Take Action tab, get involved, and hit the ground running in 2025.